Ready?
Recording now.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it. Ready
Ready, the audience?
And if you could show at least 5 people in the audience, which obviously we have that. Okay, we're good. Okay, first of all, thank you. This I know is probably strange to most of you right now, but thank you. We appreciate you being here and helping us out. My speech is about seat belts, and it's a convincing type of speech, and I need to try and convince you that you should wear seat belts. So with that, I'll just say in the introduction that there's such devastation that can come from not wearing seat belts. Injury and death is just part of the deal. The cost to families and society is just huge. This is probably nothing new to most people wearing seat belts. I mean, if you've been driving very long, certainly you've heard it. You heard it probably in your driver safety courses. I'm sure that the littler ones have actually already started hearing it. Most parents are doing it. So it's not something that people can really say that they don't know anything about any longer. Of course, we get bombarded quite a bit with TV commercials nowadays, billboards, that kind of thing. Part of what I'm going to talk about is the dynamics that are involved in a crash. Obviously, that's my job, and so I do know a little bit about this. Some of the dynamics, just real quickly: rollovers, obviously in a vehicle, spins, centripetal force, the forces that are applied in a matter of moments to the body are really what we're talking about that you need to be wearing your seatbelt for. It's not oftentimes the impact that hurts or kills people, but it's what happens to the body after the impact. It's whether they're thrown from the vehicle or within the vehicle. It is known. They call it room to live, but it's the occupant compartment of the vehicle. And the way vehicles are designed these days, they're designed so that when you're in a crash, and it's not always, but most of the time when you're in a crash, the occupant compartment is designed to try and stay somewhat intact. And the purpose for that is if you can stay in there by using a seatbelt, your chances of surviving drastically increase. Obviously, if you're being thrown around inside the vehicle, there's so many things that people don't think about that are in a vehicle that can really hurt you. Stick shifts, steering wheels, really headrests. If your body is in motion within that vehicle, all of these things start coming into play, and that's where your injuries come from. Needless to say, when you're in the right type of crash with the right type of forces and you're thrown from the vehicle, you're just at the mercy of wherever you land and how you land. And most times for people I see, it's head first. And that's where those serious injuries and deaths come from. Statistics, just a few statistics. Just here in Montana, and I know not everybody here is from Montana, but just here in Montana, strong 30% of the crashes that involve serious injury and death in this state are failing to wear seatbelt. We see it all the time. I'll pull up to a scene. I can see a completely destroyed vehicle and have people walking around, a little bit hurt, a little beat up, but that's it. And then I can go to another crash and wonder where the damage is on a vehicle and have somebody actually dead. And we see this all the time. In fact, I've often said that people need to actually do my job for a month, and you'll never ever not wear your seatbelt again, because we see it fairly regularly. Between the NHTSA, which is National Highway Traffic Safety Institute, estimates that between 2004 and 2008, 75,000 lives, 75,000 were saved by seatbelts. I mean, that's just a phenomenal figure when you think about it. It makes people like me ask, why wouldn't you wear a seatbelt? I've heard all kinds of excuses. If you can only imagine, I've had people tell me that they would put on their seatbelt right before the crash. If you can imagine that for an excuse for not wearing it. I'm not going to. I don't need to wear my seatbelt unless I'm out on the highway. Well, at least here in Montana, I can't speak to Washington, and I bring this up about Washington because there's a lot of Washington folks here, but in Montana, our biggest fatalities, our biggest fatality rate comes from two-lane highways. It's not even the interstates. But even with that being said, for those of us that live here in Missoula, we know that cars roll over in town. Yeah, and it's oftentimes those rollovers at low speed that are ejecting people out. And so choosing to only wear your seatbelt when you're at a higher speed, yes, that's a great time to wear it, but that's not the only time I've seen a rollover on a vehicle at 17 miles an hour. So there's really no good time to be in a car that you're not wearing one. So in conclusion, the impact of wearing or not wearing a seatbelt just can't be underestimated. Again, as I stated earlier, if you were to see the world from my eyes for a period of time, you would know you would never get in a vehicle and have that thing moving without seatbelts being worn. I have had people say, well, geez, I know somebody who was in a crash, and if they'd been wearing their seatbelt, they would have died. Well, I can tell you that I've personally investigated well over 1,000 crashes. I've been supervisor over several thousand, and I can tell you that has never been the case. And I'd have no motive to say otherwise. Why would I? It's not like we get kickbacks from the seatbelt companies or something. So I'd have no motive to say otherwise. My family, if I honestly thought that that was the case, my family wouldn't wear seatbelts. Not a chance. I'm not going to put them in harm's way. So I could tell you that in itself is, I don't know where that comes from, where somebody says that they knew somebody that would have been killed had they been wearing their seatbelt. I've never seen it myself. The dynamics, we spoke a little about room to live. I hope I've made that a little bit clearer. You stay inside that occupant compartment. It's kind of like, well, we got some people in the racing business in here. The occupant compartment, oftentimes in a lot of race vehicles, are designed to protect the driver. Well, so's your cars. That's literally where that technology comes from. So if you can stay inside your car, your chances for surviving a crash is just, it exponentially grows huge. What you'll see more than anything is that you can actually change the outcome of the crash from being very serious to very minor just by simply wearing a seatbelt. Thank you for your time.